Joined this morning by Jill Savage, sports reporter for the last, is it 13 years?
Yeah, 13 years.
Yeah? Word is that you were a Pat and Stu fan.
I was. So I have known you much longer than you've known me. You guys used to travel with me every single weekend when I would get on an airplane. I would try and listen to Glenn, and then he had like the OUR stuff, and I would be like bawling on the airplane going like, man, what is happening? I was like, all right, forget that. Pat and Stu all the way. I need some light and entertainment in my life. So yeah, every Thursday, every Sunday, I would just rip through Pat and Stu podcasts.
Oh, nice. Nice. And you were a fan of Linda Locklear, or Rhonda Locklear, right? From the Lumbee tribe.
I could not get enough of her.
She's the best.
My name is Rhonda Locklear.
This is one of our favorites of all
I'm from
time.
Pembroke, and I'm a member of the Lumbee tribe of North Carolina.
Right.
I have two children.
Children.
And my Kenny mother. I want the best for my boys. Jacob, my oldest, is a transferring student to UNC Pembroke. And Isaac is in the 8th grade at Pembroke Middle School.
Okay, and then she goes on, of course, to complain about dial-up. And fortunately, the Lumbee tribe doesn't have to deal with dial-up anymore. So we've got that going for us. And isn't there a $20 billion bill or something that's going around for
I think the story is on your sheet there, second sheet there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is.
What is it?
I'm sorry. It's $1 billion.
Oh, it's a measly $1 billion.
It's hardly anything. It's $1 billion in grants for broadband on tribal lands.
So
totally
we're not
worth
done
it.
yet. Wire in the
yet.
tribes.
All right. So you have been all over the country following sports, covering sports. Tell us some of the stops you've made.
Yeah, so I moved originally from Iowa, born and raised. I was a Hawkeye growing up. And then after that, my first job was in Portland, Oregon. So talk about a culture change going from Des Moines, Iowa to Portland, Oregon. I wasn't really ready for that at the ripe old age of like 23, just going out there and being exposed to the left coast. But lived there for 3 years, moved down to Eugene, covered the Ducks for 3 years as well. So I was right in the middle of all of those Chip Kelly Oregon teams.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it
They were
was
really
a
good then.
fun time to be in Eugene. And then from there, moved on to the Pac-12 Network, lived in San Francisco, where we were headquartered for 1 year, and dealt with a lot of interesting people on the streets of San Francisco. Had to get out of there quickly. Lived in Arizona then for 5 years, but covered the Pac-12 mainly. Some other things here and there for little one-offs, hockey, NFL, all sorts of things, but always in collegiate athletics.
So now that you're in the DFW area, are you going to cover Big 12 sports or?
We are going to be moving in a different direction. I have a couple different opportunities in front of me. I wish that I could talk more about them at this point in time, but you can't. That's the way this industry works. It's unfortunate. I'd love to tell you.
Now, you were on Stu's show recently talking about the transgender situation in sports. Give me your take on that. What do you?
Yeah, when I look at it, I'm not a huge feminist. I wouldn't say like, oh, women's power, right? Like, I think that I can go out there and I can work hard and I can do just as well as anybody else. But we're all told to believe that women are so special. They need to be on board of directors. They need to be CEOs of companies, right? Like all of the diversity is coming if you're a woman. Now you go and look at the other side of that. If it's so easy for a man to become a woman, is it really that special being a woman? Right? Like you can't have it both ways. You can't say that by chopping something off, adding something else, like, oh, all of a sudden you're now a woman or a birthing person, as they like to call us lately. I am kind of offended by that. Like you can't, we have to draw the line somewhere. Right. But when you take that into the sports world, it's not fair, right? Like men, their bodies are built differently.
You're not supposed to notice that.
The
You're not
hips
supposed to talk
are
about
different.
That.
The muscle mass is different. You have muscle memory that you've had your entire life. And just because you take a pill and it lowers your testosterone level, that doesn't erase however long you've been a man.
Right.
Up to that point, your body knows, and it's built completely differently, and it can sustain weight, and it can, obviously the stronger, faster, all of that stuff goes into being a biological male from birth, and every single cell in your body has those chromosomes that say you're a male or you're a female. So when we argue about biological sex and what I feel like. If you want to feel like you're a woman, by all means, live your life.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to the competitive balance in sports, it's not right, because you look at the records that women have, and track and field is one of the best examples. And like, FloJo has some of the best times in the world, and all these records, and other men can come in through high school and run faster than her. And
18 high schoolers have run faster than FloJo.
It's ridiculous that you can see a high school man versus the best woman that we've ever seen in a sport.
Right.
And they're competitive at the same level, and you never see it the other way. Like, why would we need to have a WNBA and an NBA if men and women are going to be the same?
Mm-hmm.
And then you take it and you're like, okay, but we changed a little bit. Like, we tweaked something. We took a pill. Okay. That's not really that different, though.
And you mentioned cutting something off and becoming a woman. They don't even have to do that.
Right.
In sports.
That's
They
right.
just have to identify as a woman, and they can run track against other women. It's unbelievable that Title IX has essentially gone right out the window. That was sacred text since the 70s up until just recently. And now all of a sudden, we don't care about Title IX. We don't care about defending women. We don't care about women's sports. We're going to put these men up against them. It's really amazing.
Can you even believe that in your field that you're even having to talk about this?
It's so strange. The only thing that I'm used to talking with Title IX in a frame of reference is all of the scholarship limitations, right? You have to have so many women that get scholarships to have the allowable numbers for male sports, football, basketball, right? So this is why we have all of these female sports at all of these different universities so that they can equal out football and basketball for the men.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
what Title IX was in
Right,
my world when
right.
I first started.
That's
That's
all
what
it
I had
is.
to learn to get up to speed for that. And now it's something completely different.
Yeah.
And soon, it looks like the Olympics might be allowing transgender women to compete against
The weightlifting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've already got one, right? I think there's one that's already in the games
Well, and
this year.
she's beautiful.
She
Aren't they
is
all?
Extremely lovely. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Right
But
about that.
then just the other day, the Biden administration completely extended protections through Title IX. Like, it's a done thing now. It's a protection now that's afforded under Title IX.
You
Two
can't have
transgenders.
yeah, you can't have another opinion now.
No, you can't.
Oh, no.
And you're a bigot if you don't agree.
Amen.
Yeah. So
Three
it's
bigots in a room.
pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. Recently, you apparently went to a Bitcoin convention, I heard.
I did. Yeah, I was at Bitcoin 2021. It was in Miami, and I'm happy to say I did not get COVID. There were 12,000 people there, and I think 4 of them tweeted online. They're like, I tested positive after this. Okay, well, there were 12,000 people there. Like, some of them were bound to have COVID.
Right. That's fun.
Yeah. Was anybody
I
wearing
made
masks?
it. I survived.
You seem to.
I think less than 1%. There were a couple.
Really?
There were a couple outliers that were still wearing the masks, but for the most people, and a lot of them came from New York and LA, and they were like, "This is the first time I've been anywhere with a
Right.
lot of people without masks."
And where was that held?
This is kind of cool. It was in Miami.
Okay. Are you a big believer in Bitcoin?
I am. My family actually mines it as well.
Your family mines Bitcoin?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That is
Do you know-
cool. I've
you know
never
what that
met
is?
a Bitcoin miner before. Well, yeah,
Okay.
you got computer system and
All right.
you're continually.
What's your electric bill like?
The Bitcoin pays for it.
Does it?
It's
You make enough in Bitcoin. You find enough coins.
economically sustainable.
So how does that work?
That's amazing.
How's that work? You got a room where a computer is just working all day, or what's the story?
Yeah,
on that?
so the
or a
mines-
series of computers.
Yeah, you have to have a series of
Yeah.
computers. Like, you can't just do one in your basement anymore. Like
So
you
you
used
guys
to
are
be
like
able
really
to.
serious about it.
Yeah, my dad's an electronic engineer
Wow.
for the last 32 years. So
There you go.
that worked out a little bit better for us. We're like, oh, we know what this is. We
That's
can figure
cool.
this out. Computers in a room and setting them up. So yeah.
That is awesome because if you're not paying for them,
Well, you
at $60,000 a coin, or I
Right,
don't, it's probably
right.
what 45 now,
Yeah, right at 40.
and you're getting them for free. That's
Well, you
pretty
pay-
good return.
Yeah,
you pay
gotta-
for the machine up front. So
Right,
it's
sure.
a very capital
Yeah, how does walk us
intensive.
through? Take us back to the patent studio.
So
Walk
it
us
costs
through
a
this.
lot of money to buy the mines.
Does it?
Yeah. And
Are these are special computers?
these are special
I
computers.
can't just do it with my with my
Correct.
laptop.
Can we go to Best Buy after the show and
No,
just grab
so
one?
and
or-
this is the thing. There's a big shift that's actually happening right now, which I think is one of the coolest things that's happening in Bitcoin. So Bitcoin used to be mined, I wouldn't say exclusively in China, probably 60% is what they assumed to be mined in China, and the rest
Really?
of the 40% was spread throughout the world. Well, China is cracking down. They say for environmental reasons. I think it's they're seeing the price of Bitcoin go up, and they're like, these people can't have freedom.
Right.
We can't
Right.
let them keep doing this. They're going to be
Exactly.
outside the system. So, at the end of the fourth quarter, beginning of the first quarter of next year, all of these mines are going to be migrating from China to North America, and a lot of them are actually going to be coming into Texas. And I know there's a lot of talk about renewable energy and all this and the power grid, and I've become so much more knowledgeable about all of these things that I never really thought I would have to know, but because it's in my financial interest to know them, it's much easier to learn. And so when you have Bitcoin mining, it's the best thing that we have found so far to make the grid green. You can use all of this excess waste of energy that was just going off into space, and we can now harness that and create Bitcoin.
Is it too late
It's
for
great.
Pat Gray to be a part of the ride here?
No, so from the Bitcoin conference, Pat, I'll bring you the inside scoop.
Okay.
Everybody thinks that this is about 1995 in the age of the internet. It's still very early on. I was talking to one of the CEOs.
Bitcoin mining?
In Bitcoin in general.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
one of the CEOs from a big Bitcoin mining company, they're a private company out of Minnesota, he was like, how many suits do you see here at this conference? None. How many will be here in 5 years? It'll be flooded with them. Because in 2020, we really saw more of the institutions getting in on Bitcoin, right? Like everybody wondered, is it here to stay? Are they going to ban it, right? Nobody knew what was going to happen. But now you have the Wells Fargos, the JP Morgans, the Goldman Sachs of the world. They're all getting in on Bitcoin. The too big to fails, if you will, right?
Yeah.
Those companies are getting in on it. Visa now has a credit card called Fold where you can get paid back. Instead of airline miles, you can get Bitcoin back. So
Wow.
it's starting to catch on in a more institutional corporate way.
That is really cool. And people, I guess less knowledgeable people have said that really the mining thing is over. It's too hard now to find them. That's apparently not true.
It
when you're
is-
doing it right.
It is difficult, but again, this is going to be the thing where the migration from China to North America, we're going to have a much bigger slice of the pie. So to mine it, you have to have your computer, and then you join a pool, right? A pool of people to make it easier to solve the problems, if you will, to get the Bitcoin itself.
Okay, and it's an algorithm.
It's an algorithm, right? You're essentially just trying to solve a puzzle, and your reward when you solve it is a Bitcoin, right? You get a block, and that is a Bitcoin, and you get back the percentage that you put in.
So if someone wants to get into cryptocurrency and maybe they see that Bitcoin is trading, around the $40,000 a coin right now. Let's see, what is it now? Okay, and 38,000 right now.
Yep.
And they want to be involved, but maybe they're seeing the price of Bitcoin even at its currently relatively low rate, as where it has been. Is there any other coin out there that you would lead people to?
See, I am a Bitcoin person, and this is why. So I am also a Blaze TV subscriber. I totally am on the gold and silver bandwagon, but I'll take you through this example, right? When I went to my bank to have a wire transfer to get all of that shipped to me, I had to have a name, a physical address of the company, a routing number. I had to write that special note in to hey, this is my stuff that you need to mail it to me. This is my transaction number. In Bitcoin, you can do that on your phone, and you can send money in seconds, right? It takes the bank 2 to 3 days still for that money to flow through. So if you just look at Bitcoin as a technology that fixes that problem, if that was all that Bitcoin did, it's here to stay for that reason alone,
Yeah,
because it's easier to transfer money around the world in Bitcoin.
And as you explained earlier off air, explain how it's the base for everything else.
Yeah, so I like this. Michael Saylor is the CEO of a company called MicroStrategies. He just got on a year ago, and he has become like the biggest cheerleader. He explains Bitcoin as digital property rights. You can't go and buy real estate at a fraction. You can't buy gold at a fraction, right? An ounce of gold is what, $1,900 or whatever it is right now. You have to buy that whole thing. You can put in $1, $10, $20, $100, whatever you want to buy. You can buy fractions of a Bitcoin. And so when everybody used to say, oh, it's digital gold, I never liked that explanation until I realized that it really is a digital asset that is able to be broken down to the millionth of a fraction.
Yeah.
And when you see that, you're like, oh, I can buy smaller pieces of it and still get a piece of the pie. I'm under 40 years old. I've been priced out of everything, right? Anything that the boomers own, housing, stocks, all that, right? You can still get in to this. This is an area for younger people to actually be able to put their money in and kind of store their wealth. And you can do it $100 a month.
Yeah. Wow. I would have. I'm really surprised that there's still that you say that we're kind of at the beginning of this, because it seems like, the normal person has been priced out of it, and it seemed because people have said that you can't really mine it anymore. But you're kind of saying neither of those is
We
true.
are. So
yeah,
and we are new to the mining space as well.
Your family is?
Yeah. So we've been doing it just for a very short amount of time, and it's already something. Yeah, it's already lucrative. Let's keep it at that.
Yeah.
It is fun. It is a lot of fun, and it's something that I look at as the foundation of the monetary system going forward.
How many Bitcoins do you have?
Okay, don't answer that.
You never. This is the thing that you learn.
Never say?
Well, one probably
Right, yes.
never say it out loud, but you never have enough, and you always wish that you started sooner.
Yeah, sure.
And the more information that you know about it, the more into it you are. It doesn't fall apart under scrutiny. I think that's the coolest part.
Is it possible to either lose the Bitcoin or have them stolen from you?
You should have your keys still. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen a lot of those stories like, oh, I
Like people
forgot my password.
Forget their password, and then
Yeah.
you're screwed, right? You get 10 shots at it, I think.
Yeah.
And if you can't get it in 10 shots, you're done. It goes away.
Yeah, so the Winklevoss twins were very early in
Wow.
on Bitcoin, and I've heard that they have their passwords cut up in different pieces and put in different safety deposit boxes around the country. So they'd always be able to get
Wow.
back to it, but
Wow.
that,
Wow.
if that's true or not.
That's interesting.
But they have
Yeah,
a
it is.
lot,
Yeah. Well, and they weren't mining, right? They were just buying. Is that true?
Yeah,
or did
I mean,
they mine as well?
they had their Zuckerberg payout of, I believe it was $65 million for Zuckerberg stealing Facebook from them at Harvard. they went to him and they're like, hey, we need you to code this for us. And he's like, yeah, okay. Oh, I got a little busy over here. I can't finish your project, but I started my own a couple weeks later. So they had that $65 million, and they were
Yeah.
huge into Bitcoin early. So
I wish I would have been huge into Bitcoin early. We started talking about it at, was it $300?
Yeah.
I think it was 300 when we really were
now,
focused on
my
it.
question for you is, Stu and Glenn are on the train,
They are.
but Pat didn't
But
join.
Pat did not join, did not get on the train. No, that's what Pat always does, is Pat waits a little too long.
You haven't waited
And-
too long.
Yeah, I haven't.
No, I
waited too
promise.
long.
I would say from what I see going forward, getting involved in this more and more, we are still early because they are still going to have the opportunity to get into more corporations. There's not really a place in a 401k yet when you're able to reach that financial market as well, for a place for them to hold Bitcoin if they can get into your Fidelity, your TD Ameritrade, all that.
Coinbase is now a publicly
That's-
traded company.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
Good times. Hey, what is it with your industry of sports? It has the appearance that it's so far left. Why is that? Just I want to throw that out there
Because it is.
because the audience that they serve is not. So why is that?
Do they not understand that? These reporters, these anchors, do they think that everybody believes as they do? Is that what it is?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I look at it, and I've studied this, right? Like, these are my friends, these are my colleagues, and I just wondered, like, how do you feel so comfortable just coming out and saying that? Because they don't cover news. they cover sports. So I feel like they thought, oh, this isn't a conflict of interest if I just put all of my leftist views out there. I think COVID was really that time where we saw sports and news intertwining. And a lot of those major writers across the country were rooting for sports not to happen, right? They were all like, oh, we shouldn't play. We should postpone. And
It's
I'm like,
selfish to play.
Yeah.
You shouldn't take that chance.
I thought if we're going to change something about the season, we should play sooner, not later, because cold and flu season is coming later. So you want to get as much out of the way as possible.
Yep.
Get that under your belt, and you would give yourself more time to make up games. Well, the Big Ten delayed, the Pac-12 followed them, and, there were teams that were playing like 3 games this season because they waited so long.
Yeah, it was agonizing. And it's agonizing to listen to ESPN anchors, whether it's a racial issue, whether it's COVID-19, whatever comes up, they're on the extreme left and seem to be proud of it.
I don't think that they understand that Colin Kaepernick wasn't a good quarterback before any of this happened.
Right.
Like, there was a reason that he wasn't starting, and it had nothing to do with his race, right? Chip Kelly, my guy from Oregon, was out there with him in San Francisco, and you would think that Chip and, run, pass quarterbacks that he had at Oregon, like Colin Kaepernick would be the guy. Chip didn't even go with him.
Right.
Like, that would be the ideal situation for him.
And he's been offered several backup jobs that he's turned down. He doesn't want to have anything to do with the NFL. He doesn't want to play. He's
getting paid from Nike not to play.
So
why would you go play? I'd take that deal.
Yeah, exactly. He's not risking his life and limb, and he's making $20 million, reportedly, $20 million a year from Nike. So, why would you?
Good money if you can get it.
Good money. Yeah, not bad.
Put it into Bitcoin.
Well, Jill, thanks for coming in.
It's been great.
Great to meet you.
You
great
too.
to see you. And so, do you want to talk about what you're doing, or can you not?
I can't do it yet.
Really?
I wish that I could. It's one of those things,
Okay.
like, in media where
You tell us when we can.
Yeah, let us know.
It's a fickle industry.
Let us know, and we'll spread the word when you can.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for
appreciate
coming
it.
in.